If you look at the headlines today, you see chaos. You see inflation, spiraling debt, and political division that feels unprecedented. It feels like a unique, modern crisis. But if you go into the archives, if you dig into the economic reports of the last 500 years, you find something else. You find the exact same headlines, written in different languages, printed in different centuries, but telling the exact same story. There is a pattern in history that has destroyed 3 global superpowers in the last 500 years. In 1590, Spain was the richest empire on earth. They controlled half the world's gold and silver, yet within 80 years, they were bankrupt. In 1914, Britain ruled the largest empire in human history. The sun never set on their territory, yet within 40 years, the empire was gone. In 1991, the Soviet Union was a nuclear titan spanning the globe. It ceased to exist in less than 900 days. 3 times, 3 superpowers, 3 complete collapses, and they all followed the exact same sequence. What should terrify you right now is that the United States has already completed 5 of the 7 stages of this pattern. We are not approaching the collapse. We are deep inside the mechanism of it. This is the story of how empires die, why they always believe they are different, and why the mathematics suggests we are next. To understand this, you first have to understand what imperial collapse actually looks like. It is rarely an explosion. It is almost never an invasion. Imperial collapse starts with economic exhaustion. The empire extends beyond its ability to maintain itself. It establishes military bases in foreign lands, fights wars on multiple fronts, makes promises it cannot keep, and accumulates debts it cannot repay. At first, this decline is invisible. The currency still works. The military still wins battles. The government still functions. But beneath the surface, the foundation is cracking. Resources are misallocated. Productive capacity shrinks. The best and brightest minds begin to leave. Then comes the acceleration. Allies start hedging their bets. Enemies test boundaries. Trade partners seek alternatives. Suddenly, the advantages that made the nation powerful become its vulnerabilities. Your currency, once demanded by everyone, comes flooding back home. Your military, spread across the world, becomes unsustainable. That is not theoretical. That is exactly what happened to Spain, Britain, and the Soviet Union. They believed their power was permanent. They overextended militarily. They debased their currency. And they refused to accept reality until the collapse was already underway. Let's open the file on the first global empire, Spain, in the 16th and 17th centuries. This is the original blueprint. After Columbus discovered the Americas, Spain became the first true world power. They conquered empires and seized control of the richest gold and silver mines ever discovered. By 1550, Spanish galleons were bringing home hundreds of tons of silver every year. Spain controlled the money supply of Europe. The Spanish real was the global reserve currency. Everyone wanted it. But this is where the pattern begins. King Philip II had more money than any monarch in history, and he spent it on the first stage of collapse, military overextension. Spain fought wars everywhere simultaneously against the Ottoman Empire, the French, the Italians, the Dutch, and the English. By 1580, Spain had military commitments on 4 continents. The cost was staggering. Half of Spain's revenue went to the military, and it still wasn't enough. This led to stage 2, currency debasement. When the Spanish crown couldn't pay its bills with taxes alone, they did what every failing empire does. They debased the currency. They started mixing copper into silver coins. A coin supposed to be pure silver became 50% copper, then 75%. The face value stayed the same, but the real value plummeted. Merchants stopped accepting them. Inflation exploded. Stage 3 was the death spiral. Spain borrowed constantly from international bankers. By 1557, less than 20 years into Philip's reign, Spain declared bankruptcy. They defaulted, restructured, and kept borrowing. They declared bankruptcy again in 1560, 1575, and 1596. 4 bankruptcies in 40 years. But the most critical lesson from Spain is stage 4, the loss of productive capacity. Because they had unlimited money flowing in from the Americas, Spain stopped producing. Why grow food when you can import it? Why build ships when you can buy them? Spanish nobility considered work beneath them. Manufacturing declined. Agriculture stagnated. All the wealth flowed out to pay for French wine, Italian silk, and Dutch goods. Spain became a conduit. Wealth flowed through them, but none of it stayed. When the silver mines depleted, the system collapsed. By 1700, the Spanish Empire was a shell. They went from the world's superpower to a secondary power in less than a century. Now, jump forward 300 years to the British Empire. In 1914, Britain controlled 25% of the world's land surface. The pound sterling was the global reserve currency. London was the financial center of the world. Just like Spain, they believed it was permanent. But they were already following the pattern. Stage 1. Military Overextension. By 1900, Britain had to defend territory on 6 continents. The cost was enormous. When World War I started, Britain faced a choice: stay neutral or bankrupt the empire to win. They chose to fight. The war cost Britain the equivalent of $1 trillion today. They borrowed from everyone, mostly from the United States. The creditor became the debtor. Stage 2. Currency Debasement. The pound sterling was supposed to be backed by gold, but the war drained Britain's reserves. They shipped their gold to America to pay for survival. By 1920, their reserves were shattered. They tried to maintain the value of the pound, but it was artificial. By 1931, they couldn't hold it anymore. Britain abandoned the gold standard, and the pound lost 25% of its value overnight. The global reserve currency had just admitted it couldn't keep its promises. Stage 3. Debt Spiral. Britain never recovered from the First War before the second one started. By 1945, Britain owed the United States and Canada more than its entire GDP. The war was won, but the empire was finished. Stage 4. Loss of empire. In 1947, Britain gave up India, the crown jewel. Over the next 20 years, they lost everything: Africa, the Middle East, Southeast Asia. By 1970, the British Empire existed only in history books. The pound kept falling, from $4 to the pound in 1940 to nearly parity today. The global reserve currency became a regional currency. Britain tried to maintain the pretense of power with nuclear weapons and a UN seat, but everyone knew the truth. Then we have the most recent example, the Soviet Union. After World War II, they emerged as a superpower with nuclear weapons and massive military control. They believed communism would bury capitalism. For 45 years, they matched America militarily, building more tanks, more missiles, more troops. But beneath the surface, the economy was rotting. Stage 1. Military Overextension. The Soviet Union spent up to 20% of its GDP on the military, triple what America spent. They were in Afghanistan, Cuba, Vietnam, Angola. Everywhere America was, they had to be. The cost was unsustainable. Stage 2. Economic Stagnation. The Soviet economy stopped growing in the 1970s. Factories produced junk. Farms failed. Technology fell decades behind. By the 1980s, the Soviet Union was importing grain because they couldn't feed themselves. Stage 3. Currency collapse. The ruble was never a real currency internationally. Nobody wanted it. The government had to buy foreign goods with gold and oil. When oil prices dropped in the 1980s, they ran out of real money. Stage 4. Loss of empire. In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell. Eastern Europe left. The Soviet government couldn't stop it because they were broke. Stage 5. Complete collapse. On December 26, 1991, the Soviet Union ceased to exist. It took 900 days from the first cracks to total dissolution. No invasion, just economic implosion. A superpower with 30,000 nuclear weapons collapsed because it couldn't pay its bills. And this brings us to the present day, to the United States. We are following the exact same pattern. Stage 1. Military Overextension. We have over 750 military bases in 80 countries. We are committed to defending Europe, Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and the Middle East. Our military budget is $850 billion annually. Yet we are stretched thin, recruitment is down, and our equipment is aging. We have commitments we cannot physically fulfill if multiple conflicts ignite simultaneously. Stage 2. Currency Debasement. Since 1971, when the gold window closed, the dollar has become a fiat currency. We have printed trillions of dollars since 2020 alone. The dollar has lost 98% of its purchasing power since 1971. We aren't mixing copper into coins. We are printing digital money. The mechanism is different, but the result is the same. Stage 3. The debt spiral. The United States owes $36 trillion. Interest payments alone are approaching $1 trillion a year. We are spending more on interest than on defense. We borrow to pay interest on previous borrowing. That is the definition of a death spiral. Stage 4. Loss of productive capacity. America does not make things anymore. We design, we finance, we consume. But our manufacturing base has been gutted and shipped to China, Mexico, and Vietnam. We run a trade deficit of nearly $1 trillion a year. We are dependent on foreign supply chains for medicine, electronics, steel, and military components. Just like Spain, we are dependent on imports while our currency flows out. Stage 5. Social decay. Trust in institutions is at all-time lows. Crime is rising. Political dysfunction is absolute. We cannot agree on basic facts, let alone solutions. The signs of internal decay are everywhere. But we pretend it is normal. We have completed 5 stages. History tells us exactly what comes next. Stage 6 is the loss of reserve currency status. This is when the world stops trusting the dollar. We are seeing the early signs now. BRICS nations are developing alternatives. Central banks are buying gold at record rates. Oil is being traded in other currencies. When the world no longer needs dollars to trade, those dollars will come flooding back home, triggering hyperinflation that no central bank can stop. Stage 7 is collapse. It is not a gradual decline. It is a sudden, brutal repricing of reality. The Soviet Union went from superpower to non-existent in 3 years. Britain lost its empire in 20. When the money fails, the military stops. The promises stop. The social order fractures. 3 empires followed this pattern: Spain, Britain, the USSR. Each believed they were exceptional. Each believed the rules of economics didn't apply to them. Each was wrong. We are telling ourselves the same lies right now. We say we are different because we have technology, or because we are America. But the pattern doesn't care about exceptionalism. The pattern is mathematical. You cannot spend beyond your means forever. You cannot maintain an empire without production. You cannot print value out of thin air. The sequence is locked in. The only question remaining is timing. Maybe we have 10 years, maybe 5. But the pattern says the collapse is coming, and when it arrives, it won't be slow. It will be sudden. A currency crisis that triggers a debt crisis that triggers a political crisis. Overnight, the superpower becomes a cautionary tale. The answers to our future aren't hiding in prediction models. They are written in the history books of the empires that died doing exactly what we're doing today. So, if the collapse is mathematical, if the debt spiral cannot be stopped, is there any way out? This brings us to the wild card that Spain, Britain, and the Soviet Union never had. Previous empires had nowhere to run. When their currency collapsed, their wealth vanished. But today, for the first time in history, we have a digital exit hatch. Enter the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Even the highest levels of the U.S. government, including the Trump administration, have started to recognize that printing more paper money won't solve a debt crisis. The only hedge against a currency that is mathematically designed to lose value is an asset mathematically designed to hold it. This is why you see the image of the crypto president. It's not just about speculation. It is a recognition that the old system, the system of endless debt, is reaching its Stage 7 conclusion. While the empire follows the pattern of decay, a new parallel economy is being built on a standard of absolute scarcity. Gold and Bitcoin are not just investments anymore. They are the life rafts leaving the sinking ship. History says the U.S. dollar empire is in its final twilight. But for the individuals, for you and me, and perhaps even for the administration if they act fast enough, the collapse of the dollar doesn't have to mean the collapse of your wealth. The pattern destroys those who hold the dying currency. It rewards those who hold the future. This isn't just a history lesson. It's a warning. If you want to survive the greatest wealth transfer of the century, hit subscribe. We are tracking this collapse in real time. Now, I want to know your strategy. In a post-dollar world, which asset do you trust more to save your wealth? Physical gold or Bitcoin? Vote for your choice in the comments below.